He humiliated me on camera and called me trash. His own son chose me over inheritance. I'm 28, running a diesel shop, married to Silas for 2 years, together 4. The nightmare was his father, Arthur. He built a broadcasting empire and acted like a monarch. At our first dinner, his smile froze when I said my dad drove a forklift. He treated me like a biohazard. He'd seat me at the farthest edge of the table. For my birthday, he'd hand me a cheap gas card, then brag about buying Silas a vintage Ferrari. I swallowed it to keep the peace. A few months in, I told Silas his father gave me panic attacks. Silas confronted him. Arthur deployed crocodile tears. I've been nothing but warm, he lied. Then his gaze turned to ice. We settled into a hollow truce. Then Arthur texted me about his corporate jubilee. He wanted to mend our bridges. I foolishly believed him. I showed up hopeful, trying to be the bigger person. He intercepted me and pointed toward the catering kitchen. Wait here, he commanded. Minutes later, Arthur marched in with his board and a live-streaming PR team. He smirked like he'd won a trophy. This is the sanitation worker who scrubs our fleet, he announced. The executives stared at their shoes. Someone let out a thin laugh. Heat climbed my neck and my vision blurred. I sprinted out the loading dock before his cameras caught me crying. I got home and cried into a migraine. When Silas walked in, his jaw was violently clenched. He showed me his phone. Arthur uploaded the clip, cutting it right before I broke. Captioned it like a prank. My stomach plummeted. Silas tried calling. Ignored. When Arthur finally answered, Silas's voice turned jagged and lethal. He promised catastrophic consequences and demanded a public apology. That's when the real bombshell dropped. I stopped him. I didn't want revenge tactics. I wanted distance. Silas sent one text. We are done. Do not contact us. A week later, Arthur ambushed our apartment with his corporate litigator. He ordered Silas to sit. Silas refused. I asked him to sit anyway to get Arthur out. The lawyer read a document listing stock options like bait on a hook. The deal was simple. Leave me or lose the inheritance. Silas stood up. He walked directly into Arthur's space and pulled him into a tight hug he didn't deserve. He smiled and whispered, "Enjoy dying alone, Arthur." Arthur blinked like the floor moved. Then his mask cracked, and the screaming began. He demanded Silas respect the bloodline. He finally looked at me and spat gold digger like a diagnosis. He mocked my dad's blue-collar hands, called my parents trash, and called me a parasite. I stayed calm on purpose. I whispered, "He is rejecting $50 million right to your face. That's not what a gold digger does." Then I told him to get out before I called the police. 2 weeks later, Arthur drove to my parents' trailer park and did it again, right in their living room. My dad sounded like he'd been assaulted through the phone. I drove straight to Arthur's penthouse. I didn't wait for permission. I kicked his double doors open. Arthur was smirking at his wet bar. I stepped inside and let my voice shake the windows. "You are a small, pathetic, cruel old man," I hissed. I listed every tax evasion secret Silas confided in me about his late partner. I didn't stop until his smirk vanished and he was crying on the counter. Silas got there minutes after I left. He found his billionaire father sobbing and still didn't take his side. Silas came home, hugged me, and said, "I'm so proud of you for standing up." Then he told me we were going no contact. If he touched my family again, we'd file for a restraining order. For the first time since colliding with his toxic empire, I slept without bracing for the next humiliation.